Historically, from the time Israel was created, the United States supported Israel in every respect. The Europeans generally have demonstrated the same kind of commitment for Israel's national security, although some countries in Europe more than others. But West Europe and the United States remain indispensable allies and friends of the State of Israel. However, in the last 5-6 years, the failure of the negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians sort of demonstrated that it is Israel, not the Palestinians, who've been more difficult and unwilling to make the kind of concession necessary to achieve an agreement. And so, to some extent, the Netanyahu position on the whole entire peace process began to alienate the European community, and without any question, the Obama administration as well. And so they are not happy. And I don't think any single leader in Europe, or certainly President Obama, trusts Netanyahu at this juncture. And I think to a great extent it's basically given up on the prospect of reaching any kind of an agreement immediately or in the immediate future. That said, neither Europe nor the United States can give up, and certainly not the Arab states, given the situation in the Middle East today. And so that is why I support the French initiative to go to the Security Council and to try to pass a resolution in order to compel, to even force the Israelis and the Palestinians to resume the negotiation in earnest. There are obviously many obstacles. You can point out to territory, to borders, to the occupation itself, to the settlements, to the future of Jerusalem, to security. All of these are major, significant obstacles that need to be resolved, that need to be mitigated. But the truth of the matter is, you cannot mitigate all of this without also paying attention to the psychological dimension of the conflict. That is, there are different kind of historic narratives that Israelis and the Palestinians are engaged in. There is a different kind of set of beliefs, religiously speaking. So what happened over the last 7 decades of this continuing conflict? The public has been, you might say, brainwashed in a manner so that the Palestinian young men and women, so do the Israelis, actually feel as if themselves were the victims of the 1948 or the victim of the Holocaust. This is a problem. This is the psychological hang-up. So you don't have a new generation of Israelis and the Palestinians who are willing and see each other in a completely different light, because the leadership on both sides over 7 decades, been imparting with the tragedy of the Holocaust, with the catastrophe of the 1948 war, and this is what the public still believe. Now, if you don't reconcile the historical narrative, if you do not find a common denominator on the religious perspective, if you do not find a way by which to build a trust, to begin communication, which means as you negotiate, if you enter into a new set of negotiations, you're going to have simultaneously begin to mitigate psychological dimension of the conflict, and by beginning a process of people-to-people interaction. So they begin to see one another from a different perspective, different light. Tourism on both directions, increasing the trade. Before reach, that is, if you have a commitment to reach an agreement, well, you should begin a process to mitigate these conflicting issues through public-to-public intercourse. And unless you begin to do that, even if either side is prepared to make very important concession, the public is not prepared to accept that. And that is why it is necessary, as the negotiation resumes, and there is a commitment to reach an agreement, both sides must begin to take measures, to begin to build a trust, to begin to mitigate psychological hang-ups, and so that concessions made will be more acceptable to the Israeli and the Palestinian public.